when I had cancer, I was put on a very high dose of steroids, and all I wanted to do was eat. I put on 25 kilos so quick that the skin on my sides actually ripped and bled, and that's all I was doing was eating. I wasn't allowed to do anything else really. So I was eating a lot, man. And
speak on the cancer really quick. This happened when you were young.
I was 17.
17, leukemia?
Yep. And lymphoma.
And boom, it just hit you and happened.
Had a little lump in my neck that turned into 13 golf ball sized lumps. They took one out from under my arm. 4 or 5 days later, they came in and said, you've got a very aggressive cancer. You'll be dead in 6 weeks if you don't start treatment straight away.
That's real talk.
And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't do my homework, man. I was so happy.
Do you think that makes you so driven today because you had a brush with death? I mean, there's got to be a correlation here.
I understand suffering. I suffered a lot during that time, man. And when I see suffering now, I have more empathy for it than I did before. Absolutely.
Okay.
So I think that would be a big part of it. Also, life's short, man. I'm not here just to muck around. There's things that need to be done. I'm very lucky what I've got. I got, even how I came out of cancer, a few scars on my sides from those stretch marks. That's it, man. I'm fine. I didn't lose limbs or nothing. I've got a lot of gratitude, and I just in many ways in my life I'm a very privileged human. So I for a long time just cared about myself, and then I realized, hang on, there's more to life than just you, mate. You're at the top of privileged beings on this planet. What about those at the bottom? And that's why I've been so serious about helping, and the empathy thing grown from my own experience of suffering has definitely contributed. So, okay, back to bulimia.
Yeah.
I had, so that's where I really started binge eating, man.
Okay. And you got trained that way because you were so young, like 17, the steroids happened, and now you're used to eating all that food.
Yeah, man, I was. And at the time I started smoking a lot of weed, and, because I had the cancer, I had the chemo and that. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere, so I was like, I'll just smoke a bit of weed, and I started smoking a lot and doing a lot of drugs while I was on the chemo. And
other drugs too?
Yeah.
Not just weed?
All the drugs.
Oh, all the drugs.
Many of the drugs.
Okay.
Because I thought I was going to die, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm going out with a bang, man. I might die next week. I'm going to enjoy myself. And I knew that a sure way to enjoy a night was drugs. That was my idea at the time,
and
anyway.
You can still go out at this point?
Sorry, so this is about a year later, but the first part of chemo was intense. It was 6 months intense. It smashed me and nearly killed me numerous times. I had a few months break, then I started a once a week maintenance chemo. That's where I started doing my job as studying to be a personal trainer, and that's where I started partying again. And because it was just once a week, I'd feel sick for a few days. It wasn't that heavy. I could still go out on the weekend. The doctors just said, you cannot drink. I was like, no worries. It's not my drug of choice. So I didn't drink, and I never told them obviously about the other drugs. I just didn't ask. And I partied a lot, man. So the bulimia, right? So
was that just youth, or do you think that's being saved from death, or what was that?
I was always interested in drugs. I always find them fascinating. I liked the whole drug culture. I liked that it was kind of rebellious. I actually started selling drugs. I liked doing that as well. I enjoyed all of that kind of, I don't know, I just enjoyed that sort of lifestyle, man.
Entrepreneurialism.
It was business,
right?
man. It was business. Yeah, that's how I saw it. And, and I thought I was doing a community service. I thought, I'm doing you a favor. You're gonna have the best night tonight. I didn't see drugs how I see them now. Like now, I haven't even had a coffee, no drugs for nearly 5 years. So I've had a big shift in my beliefs about drugs, but that's a whole nother story. Okay. So bulimia, that's where the bad eating started, where I started binge eating in a big way. And
the cheat day gone wrong.
Yeah, man. Well, I hadn't read that book yet, but eventually I read Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Body, and in that he said, eat no carbs throughout the week, and then you can have a cheat day where you eat as much as you want. And for me, telling me to eat as much as I want was a ridiculous amount of food. And I remember one night doing that cheat day, I ate so much food throughout the entire day that I woke up at about 2 in the morning, and I was so sick, man, and I had to go vomit. And I vomited and I felt better. I'm like, oh, I feel a bit better. And it was a while later, I remember it was Christmas, and I overate again. And I was in Japan, and I went out and I made myself sick because I was too full. And I'm like, oh, I feel better. And then another Christmas, I did the same thing. And then I sort of saw it I can do this anytime I eat too much, which is all the time because I got such a bad problem with binge eating. And so that's what I did. That's kind of how it started. You know, it wasn't like a body image thing for me. It was emotional eating. But I didn't understand what emotional eating was. And then basically this bulimia got to a point where sometimes, I mean, every single day, I don't think I was having any days where I wouldn't binge and purge. But some days I'd do it. Man, maybe 10, like a lot of times, a lot of times.
It's expensive too. There's a lot of food to buy.
It was a lot of food, and it was. You have to be so secretive, and there's so much shame. I didn't tell anybody that I was going through. So I went through this for a few years.
Wow.
You know, and I'm a personal trainer. Like I feel like such a sham. You know, I'm trying to tell people how to eat healthy, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? What do you know about how to eat healthy? You know, and I knew how to eat healthy, I thought, but that wasn't the problem for me. It was emotional eating, and this is the biggest problem in my life, man. You know, I've been through drugs, I've been through cancer, I've actually been through a drug-induced psychosis, I've been through some bad shit, but bulimia was the hardest battle, man. Even cancer, everything was so hard.
Why?
I was so trapped and I was so deep in it. It was the one time where I remember feeling hopeless, like there's no way out of this. Not that I'd ever spoken to anyone, didn't even cross my mind to. I just trying to get out of it myself like I usually do with things. And I tried different things and I did everything that in my power that I thought to do and I still couldn't get out. And I'd done it over and over and I'm like, this is my life now. Give up, man. This is your life. Just own it. You know, I got to points like that where I hadn't been like that with drugs and things like that before. I was always
found a way out.
Yeah, man. And this was where I felt hopeless.
And there's no male examples of bulimia out there, right? That's a problem. I mean, it exists in males, but well, probably back then it wasn't talked about much at all. But you know, you hear about girls do it, but then sometimes it's wrapped up in body image and this and that. Yeah. But as a guy, you know, there's probably no one talking your language.
I'd never heard of one ever.
Okay, yeah.
And you know, even now, I don't know. But I'd never even thought to look up a YouTube video about it. I read some books on binge eating and things like that, but they weren't right for me. Thankfully, I went to buy my friend a book for her birthday or something, I can't remember. The book wasn't there, so I looked around to see what else was there. And I saw this book called End Emotional Eating by Dr. Jennifer Tate. I'm like, oh, emotional eating, what's that? And I read the book, I read the back, and I was like, this is it. I was like, this is the book. That's me. This is my problem. It just spoke to me so loudly. I was so excited, man. And I just spent the weekend devouring this book and doing all the exercises and it was exactly what I needed. And it was just after I'd done a 10-day meditation course called Vipassana. And it was like the book and the technique of meditation I'd learned were just hand in hand. It was perfect timing. Divine timing, man. I wouldn't say that often, but that's what it was, right? And then, you know, I didn't come out of it straight away, but I saw that there was a path out and I just started trying my best to just walk. And there'd be some back and some forward. And, you know, then I was trying to go vegan. And I was hating on myself when I'd be binging on the foods that weren't vegan, you know, thinking about the animals and just like, I don't want to be doing this. And then when I decided to do the vow of silence and the date, I thought, okay, I can't keep doing this. I'm going to do this year-long vow of silence for animals. I can't be binging on animal products. Like, you know, it's just not going to work. It was just wrong on a whole nother level. And I thought I'll be caught out. I'll do a disservice to the whole movement. No. And so on the day that I started my vow of silence was also the day I said, from this day on, never again will you vomit after your food, no matter what, no matter how much you've eaten. And I just made a vow to myself on that day. And then, a few days later, I binged hard. I ate a whole tub of vegan ice cream and a jar of peanut butter with it. It was delicious. And then as soon as I finished it, I felt horrible, man. And ice cream's the easiest food to vomit.
Because it just comes up as liquid.
So it's like, tastes good even when it comes back up. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, I could so easily. But I just knew, I'm like, well, then you're just back in that hole. Yeah. You're just back doing the exact same thing you've always done. You know where that leads you, nowhere good. So I thought, okay, just sit with it, man. Just sit with it. And I sat there feeling like hell. Next morning I woke up, still felt shit, but I didn't spew. And I thought, you know, anything is better than that cycle. And the next time when I binged a week or whatever later, I got to like 90% of the binge, and I'm like, oh, just stop there, man. You're not going to vomit this up. Remember how you felt last time? And then maybe the next time was 80% and 70%. And one other thing that I really think helped me, you know, was that I demonized carbohydrates and fruit. The whole 8 years I was a personal trainer. Don't eat fruit, it'll make you fat. 0 to 1 pieces of fruit a day max, that's what I'd say.
Right.
When I went vegan, I started eating so much fruit and having smoothies, and you know, I was eating more fruit than I'd ever eaten. And so I didn't crave sugar. You know, I didn't crave those sweet foods that I had become somewhat addicted to, I suppose. I was having a smoothie that was like dessert for breakfast, and it was delicious, and I felt good about eating it. And it was just fruit, the most natural food, you know. And I think that really helped me, because I wouldn't you know, just get to this point where I was just dying for some carbohydrates, and then I just eat a little bit and eat it all. So I think actually that helped me a lot as well, man. And you know, I felt really good about the foods I was eating, and so yeah, that's basically how I came out of it. But that book was definitely a catalyst, and emotional eating.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.